Chapter 2 San Alfonso. San Alfonso. If the crown were to be believed, San Alfonso would be the cesspool into which all of the villains and ruffians on the high seas drained. And while they'd be right about the company, San Alfonso is nothing like a cesspool. It's a bit more akin to the tropical paradises you hear about in the romances, or even older tales of the beautiful islands of Calypso. In atmosphere, it lacks nothing. Natural spring water runs freely, the trees provide papayas and mangoes aplenty, and the natural harbor guards against the worst weather, and the Crown's naval patrols. The port town itself is a vibrant place where locals mingle casually with sailors from distant shores, where music cascades down the streets, and where rum flows in abundance. But it is also a clean little town, and though the law itself is quite relaxed, there's an unspoken truce among pirates, and an understanding that those who take advantage of the hospitality of San Alfonso in a way that harms her people will find themselves barred from the island. How this should come to pass you're not sure, but there must be a reason that the leader of the port town is known as El Sabio, the Wise. What part of San Alfonso do you enjoy visiting most on your trips to port? The School of Magic, the library, the tavern, or the bazaar? I'm going to go ahead and say the School of Magic. Does that increase my Cambiar? Yeah, it does still. So my Cambiar and my Parlay are going to be way up. La Universidad de Cambiar is a grand-sounding name for a small academy that trains weather mages. Among the instructors are Marielena Relampago, and a cambiante known only as Juracan, both of whom have traveled to the distant lands beyond the reach of the crown. It's hard to discern the truth out of many stories told about the pair. Yeah, I read that right. But whether or not the tales are invented, the pair are experienced teachers, and you've picked up more than a few tricks in your visits to the school. Whew. But tonight it looks like Captain Blackguard has found a soft spot in his heart and is leading you and the rest of your bedraggled crewmates to the Lobo Negro. The Lobo Negro is exactly the kind of place the Crown would have its citizens believe represents San Alfonso entirely, a low-end, low-class establishment known for brawls, drunkenness, and crass humor. Where the rest of San Alfonso is almost eerily civilized, considering its population of scoundrels and sea dogs, the Lobo Negro is a raucous house of rum and music, dancing and debauchery. Debauchery? I don't know how to pronounce that word. I've seen it before. Haven't ever had to read it out loud, though. It is the first stop on nearly every sailor's list upon return to port, especially sailors who are half drowned. But though good-natured brawls are commonplace, pirate captains never settle their grievances in the Lobo Negro. Like the rest of San Alfonso, the truce applies here, no matter how much one captain may hate another. So when Captain Briar and her crew show up, much the same state as your crewmates, moments after your own arrival, you all avoid each other entirely. No sense rubbing salt into the wounds you're all licking. I like the way that's worded. Captain Blackguard settles in at a large table and, for the most part, seems to have forgotten about you, giving you a short time to indulge your curiosity about the other patrons of the Lobo Negro. You've met friends and enemies and lovers under this roof, sometimes all three at once. After a day like today, you'd be glad of some congenial companionship. What sort of lovers do you normally seek? I prefer men. I prefer women. Men or women doesn't matter so long as they're a bit of fun. I don't take lovers. I don't trust anyone in my bed. I don't take lovers. I'm just not interested. I don't want to go to bed with anyone I'm not serious about, but I don't mind looking. Yeah, not going to bed with anybody we're not serious about, sure. Romance with a trusted partner isn't something you expect to encounter in your line of work. Still, you don't mind admiring the attractive sort, even if you're not interested in bedding them. Like everyone else in the Lobo Negro, your attention is drawn to Anne Reed, a wealthy pirate captain who's never given you a second glance. She's everything the romances make a pirate out to be, and arrogant to boot. She boasts she'll one day be the next pirate king, and the way she holds court at the Lobo Negro is as if she's already assumed her title. Reed would never let her gender stop her from becoming a king, or anything she's pleased to do. And the king is a king regardless of who holds the role. She might not be worth the trouble she'd undoubtedly come with, but there's no denying that she's attractive, and she's got the strength and power to back up her bragging. In the crowd that flocks her, you notice a newcomer who's particularly intriguing. He's leaning against the wall near Anne's table, and it's the way he watches them that makes you look at him twice. Oh, he's pretty enough, And if you like that sort of thing, as a muscular sailor should be, though he's nowhere near Caesar's size and strength. But those eyes take in everything, and you can't help but wonder how that attention to detail would play out in his bed or in yours. Why would I wonder that? Oh, because I didn't specify actually male or female. I just said that, okay. Then again, there could be a reason for that watchful attitude. He's not looking at Anne with the worshipful gaze she expects, but more calculating expression, and that could mean trouble. There's another newcomer you notice, though for different reasons. A young Cambiante, an islander by heritage, if you're not mistaken, is seated at a table by herself, which means she's made an impression on someone. No one sits alone at the Lobo Negro unless they inspire respect or fear, so the Cambiante must have done something to stake her claim. Despite the honor, she doesn't look pleased with her solitary position. You could take a risk of buying her a drink and see if her frown is perpetual, or if she'd lighten up with the promise of a bit of fun. And then a burst of laughter draws your attention to another table, where John Gunn, a drunk old sea dog, is once again recounting his adventures to a group of young sailors, with such exaggeration that no bait in the world could catch the truth. Who would you like to approach? I head to the bar with Caesar, I go to Anne Reed's table, I sidle up the newcomer watching Anne's table, I go chat with the Cambiante, I join the sailors listening to Gunn. We'll go talk to the Cambiante, 'cause mage girls are cute. The patrons around you all give you that look like you're either brave or an idiot, as you approach the table with the sad-looking Cambiante. May I join you? You ask, and the Cambiante looks up startled. Por supuesto, she says quickly, and one of the chairs from the table shifts towards you. You could have sworn her feet weren't close enough to move it, but she couldn't have used cambiar, not with the chanting or body motions. Could she? Sorry, I didn't expect anyone to join me. I don't know if she's, well, I don't know what she looks like, really. Is she a smaller, more sprightly, or I'm assuming she would be smaller. Sorry, I didn't expect anyone to join me. There we go. We'll try to keep that voice, for the most part. A pretty thing like you? Surely you don't want for company. You must have impressed someone to end up with a solo table. It isn't often I get to talk shop, and I'm always up for bantering about trade secrets. Why not? We'll not ask why not. She looks surprised. You haven't heard? She asks, then looks sheepish. At least someone hasn't, but I'd rather not talk about it if you don't mind. You shrug and slide into a seat at her table, suspecting that questioning her further will only make her uneasy. I'm Bensticar Morgan, you say. Tinima, she says, not offering a last name. It's not uncommon among islanders, or pirates for that matter, to have a single name. You're a Cambiante? You ask, though you know the answer is obvious. She brightens and nods. Just looking for a ship, she says. You wouldn't happen to know any positions open, would you? You guess that Blackguard will leave your Cambiante here in San Alfonso for the spectacular failure of a battle you've just had, but you wouldn't recommend anyone working for Blackguard. But before you can converse further, John Gunn launches himself up from his table, tipping half the drinks. That's him. So he's a drunkard? 'Tis the sure and honest truth, he roars. I've the map on me, and I'll prove it. I'll bring the treasure back, and no one will laugh at John Gunn again. Then he stumbles out of the taberna into the night. His departure is largely greeted with laughter, but Blackguard isn't laughing. Your captain stands, beckons you and Caesar Lord, and heads outside. You know without a doubt that he's going to go after Gunn's treasure. I excuse myself and follow. He's my captain. I excuse myself and follow. There's treasure to be had. I invite Tinima to accompany me. I look to see what Caesar's going to do. I wait. What's Blackguard going to do to me in the Lobo Negro? Usually when I try to make assumptions about things, sometimes it works out in these games and sometimes it doesn't. I would assume that whatever we're going to go do with him to like steal the map or beat him up or whatever, well, that's a problem though, because I could go, he's my captain, and then try to come back and talk to her. She might be gone. We might not even come back in here. I could invite her and have a chance to talk to her more, or I'd invite her, I would be forced to like beat up the dude, and then I'd get screwed over that way. Because I mean, the relationship that I had in Champion of the Gods with the one character, like the first possible love interest, I think one of the playthroughs that I had of that, I intended it to go through one way, but it didn't, and I was kind of disappointed about it. I don't know if that was the playthrough where I actually did that, because that game I played through multiple times, just to like see the way that the games would change about it, like if it would really change a whole lot. It didn't really. I mean, it was a set path, but you could like you had different choices that you could make and slightly different outcomes in the end. I'm just gonna invite her to accompany me, I guess. Hopefully nothing really bad happens. I would hope that with her with me, I would still have a choice of like killing. Oh, because that's what it was. If you invite the person to come with you, but then kill the people riding the horses, when you and your mentor or whatever got attacked, then they would decide that you weren't what they were looking for, and then the relationship would end. Which obviously I didn't do. I ended up disarming them or whatever it was. So that, yeah, that was in a different playthrough that I was doing when I was experimenting with the game. We're going to invite Tanima to accompany me. Also, is she on here now? Tanima Cambiante. It's okay. Yep, she's on here now. So, I would assume at some point I'll end up meeting her again because El Sabio is on here, but I haven't talked to him at all. So, there's a chance that I might end up talking to him again. She looks at her empty table and sighs. "You're going after a treasure?" she says quietly, and you shrug. "I suppose the extra experience wouldn't hurt my chances of getting a position on a ship." The Cambiante walks with you to the door, and you notice how many sailors watch her leave. Not in appreciation of her looks, but warily, like they'd watch a bad storm on the horizon. You'll have to keep your eye on this one. And then you're through the door, and Blackguard is waiting. Blackguard paces in the moonlight, the sway in his step evidence that he is more accustomed to walking shipboard than on land. "Lord," he says, acknowledging the big man, then turns to you. "Morgan." I think that voice got a lot raspier on accident. So apparently he took the time to collect your name. He scowls at Tanima. "And who is this, then?" "Tanima Cambiante," you say before the woman can respond. "I thought she'd be handy to have along." Okay. Blackguard gestures at the retreating form of John Gunn, that drunk old dog with the supposed treasure map. "Gunn says he's got a map to the treasure of Captain Avery Flint. 'Tis not the legend of Ishmael the Lost, but since we find ourselves in need of coin, we can't afford to miss this opportunity. We'll be the ones to get that treasure, and if you do your part, we'll split the shares equally. Let it not be said that I am a stingy captain." You and Caesar do your very best not to look at each other because one of the two of you would be unable to keep a straight face. It's Blackguard. "If the legends speak true, Flint left more than enough to buy a new ship," Blackguard continues, "and I'll be damned if I stay landlocked longer than needs be." As Blackguard expounds on that idea with curses, Caesar leans down closer to you. "If he left more than enough to buy a new ship," he says quietly, "then by tomorrow you could be Captain Morgan." Okay, with me as your first mate. Despite Caesar's quiet tone, you're sure that Tanima has heard him, and is intrigued by the prospect of you taking helm of your own ship. Your own ship, your own captaincy, and not... It's an opportunity you've been at for years. All you and Caesar need is the coin, and a way out of those pesky contracts with Blackguard. The captain winds down his rant at the terror and begins... The captain winds down his rant on the terror of being stranded ashore, and you and Caesar both nod dutifully in absent agreement. Blackguard turns to you. "Morgan, I think it's time for you to show some initiative and leadership. You know the code words for captain putting sailor to the test when you hear them." Oh, I'm still reading that in his voice. Damn it, I'm an idiot. "You know the code words for a captain putting a sailor to the test when you hear them. How shall we go about this?" Team up with Gun, intimidate Gun, joining us, steal Gun's map, follow Gun to the treasure, then take it for himself. I don't need Gun's map, I'll use magic to detect its location. We will... yeah, intimidate him, I guess, but not really intimidate, more like offer to help him. But that would be teaming up with Gun. Let's team up with Gun. I think Gun would be glad to help retrieving the treasure, you say, even if it means splitting it. Gun's not as spry as he appears in his stories, and you're sure you can convince him you only want to help, for the proper share. Having one more person to split the treasure with will lower your take, but it will also save the effort of needing to fight or outsmart Gun. I could definitely outsmart Gun. Thank you. Blackguard gestures for you to lead the way, and you realize that test or not, you really are in charge of this mission. It doesn't take long to catch up to Gun, given he's drunk and staggering through San Alfonso. What do you want? The old man demands as you approach. Man, can't see my forehead. You gonna laugh at me? Not at all, you say, soothing him. We came to offer our help. Gun eyes you for a moment, then notices Caesar behind you. Though it's dark and hard to read either Gun's or Caesar's expression, you'd guess that Gun is assessing a large man as an asset when it comes to digging up treasure. Or digging it up? I could use the extra hands so long as you're quick and don't complain, Gun says, sounding more like a captain than your own captain. It's my map and my treasure, so half the loot's mine, you can split the rest how you like. Sounds fair, it's his map. That's ridiculous, we should all get equal shares. I sweet-talk him into splitting the treasure in our favor. I'm fine with whatever percentage he offers to help me get rid of Blackguard. Let's sweet-talk him, because if we show my stats, I'm at 59 parlay. I should be able to do this. I mean, it's early in the game. I haven't gone all parlay, but I mean, I should still be able to sweet-talk him. Mr. Gun, you say, offering an old dog respect he probably hasn't seen on this side of the Lucayan. I don't know how to pronounce that. It is your map, that's true, but I bring the labor, and look at us, Mr. Gun. We're young and strong, and sure to make the job go much faster than it would be otherwise. Surely you'd pay the majority of the treasure to the laborers, taking only a finder's fee for yourself. You don't point out that Gun himself is an old drunk. You're not without tact. But it's clear that Gun is relieved at the prospect of a younger, stronger backs bearing the brunt of the work. All I really need is to prove myself an honest man, he says, and though you'd swallow a pufferfish before you believe that, you're willing to let it slide. All right, a finder's fee for me, then you and your crew get the rest, so long as I don't have to do any shoveling. You agree to the terms and fall in beside Gun as the old pirate leads you out of San Alfonso and deeper toward the center of the island. It's a warm night, and the walk from San Alfonso into the conquered wilds of the island's center would be pleasant were it not for Blackguard's company. Like on many of the islands in Lucayan, the interior of the island is hilly and covered with rainforest. The islanders may have ways to navigate the forest, but they're a mystery to most sailors, and even the islanders build their villages along the shores rather than in the thick forests. Though the ground is clear of low growth other than ferns, the canopy blocks out the moonlight, making the night even darker. You've heard this rainforest is haunted. Those stories are mostly told by drunk old dogs like Gun, but with the sounds of movement above you and the occasional flurry of bats just overhead, you can understand why people are suspicious of these trees. What do you think about ghosts? I try not to. I'd rather focus on something I can shoot. Ghosts are in a state of change from living to dead. Nothing to be overly concerned about. Depends on if they're friendly or hostile. We'll go depends. I mean, you don't really need to be over concerned about them, but I mean, if they're hostile and they're like really malevolent ghosts, we'll just, yeah. The dead aren't all that different from the living in that regard. Some can be persuaded and others solve problems with violence. It's just much harder to fight back against spectral opponents. Following the map, you climb upward through the mahoganies and kapuks, listening to the howlers and vervet monkeys argue in the trees. You once hear the scream of a cat or coati. I'm assuming that's what that is. And I'm not gonna assume that isn't a real thing, but I haven't heard of that before. And though you know that no larger predators live on the island, you find yourself keeping an extra sharp watch around you. The watchfulness helps you to spot the pair of boulders that serve as the last landmark on the map. And then you're at the map's X. It's time to dig. Blackguard, always the treasure hunter, had Caesar carry the shovels for your team on the trek through the forest. Caesar hands them around, and all of you put your backs into the work. All of you except Tanima, that is. She tosses her shovel aside and she begins chanting. The earth loosens under your feet and the water dampens it, and your digging suddenly becomes much easier. You can tell that the Cambiante is focused on her task because the effort she's creating is a slow, subtle one. The effect she's creating, okay. There's no flash, no sudden shift of wind, just an easing of the work required. Caesar looked at her with momentary fascination, and Blackguard curses under his breath. To take the focus off the young woman, you tell some jokes, and it doesn't take Caesar long to chime in. Gunn starts in with his own with his own competing jokes, and the whole treasure digging experience has you in such a good mood you almost forget that Blackguard the Tyrant is here with you. What are you planning to do about Blackguard? You're beyond the rules of San Alfonso now. An accident that happened to him here would clearly be understood as beyond your control. Take a break from digging to get a drink, then shoot him while he's got his shovel in the dirt. I follow Blackguard's orders. I'd rather try to buy off Blackguard than get my own contract and get out my own contract than kill him. I make him a bet. If my shovel hits the treasure chest before his, he'll let me and Caesar out of contracts. I knock Blackguard out and take his share. Let's just try to buy him out. If there's treasure large enough, you say as you dig, I aim to buy my own ship if you'll release me from my contract. Blackguard puts a hand on his shoulder. I owe ye for saving my life in that combat, he says. I release you from your contract and send you off with my blessing. So you'll keep your share of the treasure after all. And me? Caesar rumbles. You want to go with him? Blackguard scratches his chin. I could part with your service for 100 doubloons. Caesar makes a show of considering, but you know he'll take the deal. So it's settled, or is it? I am for your Blackguard, so I got what I wanted, and I'm glad to have Blackguard in good terms. No, now that it's just murder, not mutiny, I shoot him point blank. Yep, good to have him on good terms. No need burning bridges. So is Blackguard... Where is Blackguard? Blackguard's not on here. But Anne Reed filled in too. So there's only one question mark in there, and it's not Jim, so I don't know who that would be. He may be an awful pirate, but he's a well-known one. He could be a useful ally in the future. Now all that's left to worry about is the treasure. Finally, you hear the cheerful thunk of wood under your shovel. The treasure chest is buried down deep, and it's effort to haul it up, but it's a satisfying heft. And you're eager to see what's inside. Once you've hauled up the treasure, you look inside. There's nearly 2,000 balloons in... God damn it. Doubloons here, and a small fortune for a single night's work. I'd offer to buy you drinks, Gunn says cheerfully, but I have a feeling my finder's fee won't go as far as your own riches. I'll buy a round, Caesar offers in a deep rumbling. I'll buy a round. Yeah, there we go. Well, I'll buy a round. Yeah. And the other guy is... Okay. Caesar offers in his deep, rumbly voice, and Gunn laughs. I'll drink to that, the old dog cheers. The prospect of a drink does sound appealing, but your mind's already past the evening celebration and calculating just what size ship you'll be able to afford. Tanima practically dances through the ferns along the rainforest floor. My first treasure hunt! A success, she cheers. And I've you to thank for it. Did I hear that you'll be captaining your own ship? Her enthusiasm is infectious, and you smile. If I can find one that's seaworthy. She smiles. You'll certainly be seeing more of me, then. You detect a note of interest in her voice that's not just about finding work. No, you think she could easily deepen her interest into something more athletic, given the proper opportunity. But for tonight, you're for bed. Forget about companionship, you've no energy to dally, and tomorrow you'll have to see about a ship. So, oh, damn, we're up to 64 with... Wow! So, we just met her, and we're 6% lower than with Caesar. Oh, look at my honorable. Oh, damn, I'm so honorable. Check that out. I'm awesome. No, you're not, dude, don't lie. So my Cambiar is up at 62, and my Parlay is up at 64. Well, if I'm going to have her around, I can probably do with a little less Cambiar, but I still want to be able to depend on it should I not be able to talk my way out of something. So you can't really talk your way out of... Like, for instance, Jim, he was in the ship. I can't talk my way out of getting him out of there. If it weren't for my Cambiar, I might have ended up killing him. Well, not killing him, but I mean, my choices would have ended up killing him because that's the way these games work. They try to give you as much control over the stuff as possible, even though it's not necessarily always going to turn out the way that you want it, which is how the Champions of the God worked. I believe there were a few times where I tried to do something and it didn't quite work out the way I wanted, but in the end, pretty much got an alright one. I forget which ending I got in my actual playthrough of that one, though. Did I destroy the world thread in that one? Or the life thread, or whatever it was? I don't think I did. I think I accidentally got it destroyed. So, I mean, either way. And I think I ended on a good note as well, even though I didn't end up with a love interest at the end. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. We're going to get a ship.